Officer Ruiz asked if anyone else was inside my apartment. It was 7:12 on a Monday morning. I was barefoot, still in my pajamas, staring at two police officers through the peephole because my mother had called them and said she was afraid I might hurt myself. I opened the door anyway. "No," I said. "It's just me." The older officer glanced past my shoulder at my kitchen table. My laptop was open beside audit notes, a CPA study guide, and a mug of coffee that had already gone cold. Nothing about the place looked chaotic. Nothing about me looked dangerous. Still, they had to ask the questions. "Your mother reported that you left a family dinner abruptly and stopped answering calls," Officer Ruiz said. "She told dispatch you seemed unstable." Unstable. That word landed harder than the knock. I folded my arms because I could feel myself shaking. "I'm not unstable. I left dinner because my family announced I was moving in with my sister to take care of her kids." Both officers went quiet. The younger one blinked. "They announced what?" I almost laughed, but it came out like a breath. "Exactly. They asked if they could step inside. I let them. Then they did what they were trained to do." Was I sleeping? Eating? Did I want to hurt myself? Did I feel safe? I answered every question clearly. I was embarrassed, furious, fully coherent, and very done. When they were satisfied, Ruiz closed his notebook. "You seem fine to me. But if this was retaliation for a family dispute, document everything." I nodded. At the door, he paused. "Repeated false welfare calls can become a legal problem for the person making them." Then they left. The hallway went quiet. My apartment stayed exactly the same. I didn't, because 3 days earlier, I still believed my family was overbearing. By 7:20 that Monday morning, I understood something uglier. My family did not think my life belonged to me. I'm 30 years old. I live alone. I work remotely for an auditing firm, and I'm studying for my CPA exam. My life is quiet, organized, and hard-won. To my family, that makes me available. My older sister Marin is 34, married, pregnant with her third child, and to my mother, she is the finished product. Husband, house, school pickup, Christmas cards, all of it. My mother, Elaine, loves to say Marin built a real family. Then there is me. Single, no kids, remote job, flexible, according to my father. Flexible is the word they use when they mean, your time matters less than ours. My mother runs emotion in our family like some people run payroll. If she is happy, everyone relaxes. If she is offended, the whole room adjusts. She keeps score and sacrifices. She helped pay $12,000 toward my tuition 8 years ago, and somehow that money still shows up in every argument. She never says, "You owe me." She says, "After all we've done for you," which means the same thing. The first time I watched Marin's kids overnight, I said yes because Todd was traveling and she sounded exhausted. The second time, I said yes because my mother had already told her I would. The third time, no one asked. Marin texted me the garage code and said, "Snacks are on the counter. Ben goes down at 8. I remember staring at that message in my kitchen and thinking, when did this become normal? Then I went anyway. That was the part I hated admitting. They were entitled, they were pushy, but I had helped build the pattern. I said yes because it kept things smooth. I said yes because I knew no would be treated like a character flaw. I said yes because peace felt easier than truth. Until Mother's Day dinner. My parents invited everyone over. My Aunt Dina, Uncle Paul, 2 cousins, Marin and Todd, the kids, and me. I brought tulips and a lemon loaf, and enough emotional energy to survive 2 hours. Dinner felt ordinary at first. My father argued with Uncle Paul about lawn equipment. My nephew dropped peas on the floor. My mother kept touching Marin's arm like she was already congratulating herself for something. Halfway through the meal, Marin tapped her glass. "We have news," she said, one hand over her stomach. My mother gasped before the words even landed. 12 weeks, Marin said. Baby number 3. Everyone erupted. My mother cried. My father stood and kissed Marin's forehead. Todd grinned. Even the kids clapped without understanding why. Then, in the middle of all that noise, my father pointed his fork at me. "Well," he said, "that settles it. Lena will move in for a while and help with the older 2. For one strange second, I thought I had misheard him. I looked at him, then at Marin, then at my mother, who was already nodding. Marin smiled at me as if we had discussed this privately. You work from home, she said. It makes the most sense. My throat went dry. Excuse me? My father set his fork down. Your sister will need support. My mother smiled over her wineglass. This could be good for you, sweetheart. You've been alone too much. Not one person at that table said maybe they should ask me first. Not one. Marin kept talking, already inside the fantasy. There was a spare room. The kids adored me. It would only be until the baby settled. My mother started adding practical details, as if all that was left was scheduling. I sat there for maybe 10 more seconds. Then I folded my napkin, set it beside my plate, stood up, and walked out. My mother called my name twice. I did not turn around. I drove home in silence. By the time I reached my apartment, my phone was already lighting up. Mom. Marin. Mom again. Dad. I locked the door, set my purse on the counter, and sat on the kitchen floor. Then I opened the messages. My mother's came first. Call me right now. Then, this is not how adults behave. Then, 7 minutes later, I'm worried about you. Please answer. That was her rhythm. Shame first, concern after. Pressure wrapped in softer paper. Marin's were less polished. You made that weird. The kids saw you leave. Todd and I already started making plans. And finally, don't do this to me. Lena. I stared at that one for a long time. Not, we should have talked to you. Not, are you okay? Just don't do this to me. I turned my phone off. That was what pushed my mother over the edge. Not the refusal itself, at least not yet. The silence. Controlling people can work with conflict. Silence gives them nothing to grab. So I slept with my phone off, and the next morning the police knocked on my door. After the officers left, I sat at my table and wrote down every detail I could remember. Then I did what I always do when my emotions start trying to run the room. I made a spreadsheet. If I moved in with Marin, I would either lose 8 months on my lease or pay the termination fee. My firm expected 40 billable hours a week. My CPA exam window opened in 5 months. For a while in my family never meant for a while. It meant until they no longer needed me. I made 4 columns: cost, time, risk, consequence. By the time I finished, the emotional fog had cleared enough for me to see the thing plainly. This was not help. This was unpaid childcare, disguised as family duty. At 9:03, I turned my phone back on. 26 messages came through immediately. My father's was shortest. We will discuss this Sunday. Be there. My mother's were longer and increasingly theatrical. Do you understand what you put me through this morning? An officer had to tell me you were fine because you refused to answer your mother. I was terrified. How could you do that to me? There it was. She had sent police to my apartment, and somehow she was still the injured party. Marin called twice. I answered on the 3rd try because I wanted at least one person in that family to hear me before Sunday. She picked up already annoyed. Are you done? Done with what? This performance. I stared at the wall over my desk. You mean refusing to move into your house? She exhaled. Oh my God, Lena, you work alone in leggings. You're acting like you're giving up a Senate seat. I have a job. You have a laptop. I have a lease. You can break it. I have my CPA. Exam. You can take it later. Every answer came too fast. They had already had this argument without me. I'm not doing it, I said. Not temporarily. Not for a few months. Not at all. Silence. Then she used the kids. Lily started making you a sign for the room. I closed my eyes. Don't do that, I said. I'm telling you the truth. No. You're trying to make me feel guilty. Maybe you should. I pulled the phone away for a second and looked at it. Then I brought it back. Did you know Mom called the police? Marin paused. Mom was worried. That isn't what I asked. Another pause. I knew she was going to make sure you were okay. That was enough. You all keep saying concern, I said. What you mean is compliance. She hung up on me. 10 minutes later, my mother called crying. I haven't slept, she said. Do you know what it does to a mother when her daughter storms out and disappears? Do you know what it does to a daughter when her mother tells the police she might be unstable because she set a boundary? Her crying stopped immediately. Then she said, very coldly, Sunday, noon. Everyone will be here. I expect you to behave. By Wednesday, I knew two things. First, if I walked into Sunday unprepared, they would bury me under narrative before I sat down. Second, this was not the first time my family had tried to draft a woman into service because they had decided her time mattered less. I learned that because I called my Aunt Vivian. Vivian is my father's younger sister, a high school science teacher who has always kept a careful distance from our family. When I told her what happened, she didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she said, "They did it to me too." I sat up straighter. "When your sister was born," she said, "your father told me to stay with them and help because your mother was overwhelmed." I was 25. I had just been accepted into a graduate program in Chicago. I gave it up because everyone acted like saying no would make me selfish. How long? 2 years. The number landed hard. "Nobody thanked me," she said. "They just slowly started talking as if I had chosen that life for myself." "I'm coming Sunday," Vivian said. "And if they try to paint you as unstable, I will handle it." After we hung up, I wrote 3 sentences on a notepad. I never agreed to move in. My mother called the police after I set a boundary. I am not giving up my career, home, or independence to solve my sister's childcare problem. No speech, no emotional essay, just facts. By Thursday, proof started arriving without me asking for it. My cousin Erin texted me a screenshot from Marin. "Just so you know, Lena's been acting really weird about the pregnancy. Please don't bring it up too much Sunday. She's fragile right now." Fragile. My mother was preloading the room with worry. My sister was preloading it with contempt. One made me pitiable, the other made me jealous. Either way, I arrived discredited. That was when the shape of Sunday became clear. They were not gathering to reconcile. They were gathering to ratify, to put me back in my chair, back in my role, back inside the version of myself that was useful to them. I tucked the screenshot into a folder with the police notes and my notepad. Then I went back to work. Because the thing that kept me from falling apart that week was not courage. It was structure. My boss, Dana Marsh, assigned me lead on a new audit Thursday morning. It should have felt exciting. The client was our largest one that quarter, and handling it well would matter when I submitted my CPA application in the fall. Instead, it felt clarifying, because the life my family described as empty was, in fact, full. Full of obligations I had chosen. Full of work I cared about. Full of a future I was building line by line. When Dana asked, "Can I count on you to stay locked in through October?" I answered without hesitation, "Yes." Then I realized something. I had no trouble committing to my real life. The only commitments that filled me with dread were the ones other people volunteered me. 4. Saturday night, I packed the notepad, the screenshot, and the police notes into one leather bag and set it by the door. Then I tried to study. I got through 8 pages before rereading the same paragraph 4 times. At midnight, I gave up and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I wasn't afraid of a fight. I was afraid of folding. Afraid my mother would cry and I'd revert to the old shape. Afraid my father would use that disappointed silence that made me feel 12. Afraid Marin would mention Lily's little sign for the room and I would mistake guilt for love. So I rehearsed one sentence in the dark until I fell asleep. I am not the backup plan. Sunday arrived warm and offensively normal. My parents had set up folding tables in the backyard, burgers on the grill, potato salad sweating in the heat. 15 people, maybe more. Enough for witnesses, enough for pressure. My mother intercepted me at the gate and wrapped me in a hug meant for the audience. "There she is," she said too loudly. "My girl." I let her hug me. I sat. I smiled politely. I accepted lemonade from Aunt Dina. Everyone looked at me with cautious softness, exactly as my mother had designed. Then, right before lunch, she stood and tapped her glass. "I just want to say how blessed we are," she began. "Marin and Todd are expecting another baby, and our family is coming together beautifully. We're all so grateful that Lena agreed to move in and help when the baby comes. Every head turned toward me. There it was, the public confirmation, the scene they had been building all week. For one suspended second, the old reflex rose in me. Smile, keep it smooth, fix it later in private. Then I felt the folder in my bag against my knee. I stood. No, I said. My mother laughed nervously. Sweetheart, no, I repeated, louder. I did not agree to move in. The whole yard went still. My father set the tongs down. Marin's face hardened. Todd looked like he wanted to disappear. I kept my voice calm. At Mother's Day dinner, Dad announced I would be moving in to help. Marin said I had nothing going on anyway. Nobody asked me. I walked out. That was not agreement. My mother's smile vanished. You nodded. I restrained myself. Someone at the far end of the table let out a breath. I pulled out the folded paper, though I no longer needed it. Second, I said. The next morning, my mother called the police and reported concern about my mental state because I did not answer my phone after leaving. Uncle Paul said, "What?" Aunt Dina turned to my mother so fast her chair scraped the concrete. Mom lifted both hands. I was worried. A welfare check showed up at my apartment at 7 in the morning, I said. An officer asked if I was a danger to myself because my mother claimed I might be unstable. My father looked at my mother then, sharply. You called the police? He asked. She opened her mouth, closed it. I was trying to help. Vivian stood. You are repeating history, she said to my parents. You did this to me when Marin was born. You told me family needed me, and what you meant was you needed free labor. My father flushed. That was different. It was not. The yard changed after that. People who had arrived primed to soothe my supposed instability were now looking at my mother like they were seeing machinery under familiar walls. I turned to Marin. Third, you texted family members and told them not to bring up your pregnancy because I was fragile and weird about it. Marin shot a look at Aaron. Aaron stared back. I was trying to prevent drama, Marin said. No, I said. You were trying to make sure I would not be believed. Her face went red. You are being unbelievably selfish. There it was. The family word. The knife they used whenever obedience failed. I nodded once. Todd, do you want to tell them what this is really about? Every head turned. Todd looked trapped, then tired, then finally honest. We can't afford full-time daycare for 3 kids, he said quietly. That's it. The truth sat on the table between the buns and ketchup. Not destiny. Not concern. Not family unity. Money. A cost problem they wanted solved with my life. I looked around the yard. I am sorry. Childcare is expensive. I am sorry this pregnancy is stressful. I am not sorry for refusing to give up my apartment, my job, and my exam so my sister can save money. My mother started crying then, loudly, because tears were her final weapon when logic stopped working. You're humiliating me, she said. I felt something almost like grief move through me, then pass. No, I said. The truth is humiliating you. After that, nobody could put the old version back together. My father asked everyone to eat. Nobody really did. My mother sat with a napkin pressed to her face. Marin crossed her arms and stared at the fence. Todd muttered an apology to nobody in particular. Aunt Dina asked if I was all right in the careful tone people use after accidents. I'm fine, I said. And for the first time all week, I meant it. Before I left, I crouched beside Lily, who was drawing flowers on a paper plate. Are you coming to our house now? She asked. I smoothed her hair back. No, honey, but I'll still see you. She accepted that in 2 seconds and went back to drawing. Children, I have learned, handle boundaries much better than adults who benefit from your lack of them. I hugged Vivian in the driveway. She held on tight. You stopped it earlier than I did, she said. I drove home with my windows down and the radio off. The sky looked exactly the same as it had that morning. I had expected thunder. Instead, there were strip malls, green lights, and somebody mowing a lawn. The first week after that was quiet. My mother did not call. My sister blocked me everywhere. My father texted once, "Your mother needs time." I stared at that message and deleted it. Because that was another family habit. The cleanup crew always moved fastest around my mother's feelings. But something had changed in me that Sunday, and it stayed changed. 3 weeks later, Todd texted me. "You were right. We should have asked. That was all." I read it twice, then replied, "Thank you." It was not forgiveness, it was acknowledgement. Those are not the same thing, but acknowledgement is where reality starts. A month later, my mother sent a text I would have once thought impossible. I should not have called the police. No excuses. No dramatic preamble, just 7 plain words in a period. I did not answer right away, not to punish her, to honor the fact that I now had that option. When I finally replied, I wrote, "Thank you for saying that. Nothing more." Over the next few months, the family adjusted because it had to. Marin applied for childcare assistance and found part-time coverage. Todd picked up extra shifts. My mother started watching the kids twice a week, which I found poetic in a way I kept to myself. My father called once and said, "I should have asked." That was the closest he had ever come to an apology. I did babysit again eventually, once a month, scheduled in advance. End time specified. No overnights, no assumptions. The first time I dropped the kids back at Marin's after one of those afternoons, she said, stiffly, "Thanks." I nodded. "You're welcome." Just a new contract spoken in ordinary language. I passed my CPA exam in October. When the score report came in, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at it until the numbers blurred. Then I cried for 2 minutes, laughed at myself, and called Vivian before I called anyone else. After that, I called my father. "I passed," I said. There was a pause. Then, "I'm proud of you, Lena." My mother called that evening and asked if I wanted to come to dinner Saturday. Just the 3 of us. "No pressure," she added quickly. And I had to sit down because those 2 words had never once existed in our relationship before. No pressure. A sentence can be small and still be evidence. I went. I brought pie. I left at 9, exactly as planned. My mother still slips sometimes. My father still defaults to declaring instead of asking. Marin still resents the shape my boundary forced her life to take. None of this became magically easy. That was the first peace I had ever earned. I still love my family. I just stopped offering that love as proof that they could use me. That was the real change, not the police. Not the backyard confrontation, not even the apology texts. The real change was this. I no longer confuse guilt with responsibility. For most of my life, I thought being a good daughter meant availability. I thought love looked like accommodation. I thought family obligation was something you could never question without becoming cold or selfish. But belonging that depends on obedience is not belonging. It is management. And once you see that, the room never looks the same again. This morning, months after the police knocked on my door, I sat at the same kitchen table with audit notes on the left, coffee on the right, and a message from Marin on my phone. "Baby shower in 2 weeks. If you want to come, let me know." No manipulation, no assumption. No room assigned in advance, just an invitation. I stared at it for a while. Then I typed, "Send me the time." Maybe that was grace. Maybe it was caution. Maybe it was simply what becomes possible after truth has done its work. Either way, it was my choice. And that, more than anything, was what my family had tried to take from me. Not my weekends, not my apartment, not even my career. My choice. That was what the police at my door finally revealed. I had said no to being my sister's nanny. My mother called the police because she heard that no as rebellion. But it was never rebellion. It was ownership. Of my time, my work, my future, my life. And once I claimed it, I was never going to hand it back.